cheerful road. I have always been a truck driver. Since I was 18 years old, I have worked driving trucks. And I've seen a lot of strange things on the roads. But what I'm going to tell you now was very scary, and I remember it perfectly. I was transporting a load to a city a little far away. And it would take 3 days on the road to reach the destination. I drove all day, and when it started to get dark, I stopped to have dinner and rest a little, as I would have to drive all night. After resting, I returned to the trip. I love driving at night. The roads are quieter and less dangerous. My first night was very peaceful. At dawn, I parked the truck at a gas station on the side of the road. I filled up the vehicle and decided to rest. I was very sleepy, as I had been driving all night. When I was more willing, I returned to the road and continued traveling again. And once again it got dark, and as usual, I stopped at a very quiet restaurant for dinner. And soon after, I went to rest a little in the truck. After my rest, I decided to check the vehicle's tires to see if everything was in order. When I went to get into the truck, I was surprised by a man who asked me for a ride to a nearby city. So, we got into the truck and continued our journey. We talked about various topics. He seemed to me to be a good man during the trip. He started sleeping, and I was driving very carefully. When it was already 2 o'clock in the morning, the road started to get very foggy. Then decided to slow down to avoid accidents. That's when I noticed on the sides of the road something that looked like a child, and there was no one else. So I immediately decided to get in the truck and get out. And I went to that child, who, by the way, could not be on that road late at night alone. It would be absurd. She was wearing a white dress and had curly hair. When she got close to that child who was walking in front, I said, "Wait, child." She then stopped, and I looked at her face. I was so scared that I screamed. She had a face like a corpse, and she stared at me and held out her hand to me. I was paralyzed and started screaming. That's when I started running back to the truck. Suddenly, I saw in the fog the man I was giving a ride to. So I said out loud, "Hurry back to the truck." And he continued to come towards me. As he got very close, I was already very scared. When I was going to tell him what was happening, I looked at his face. He was also a corpse, and he had a rotten smell too. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I was desperate, and I managed to get into the truck and leave in a hurry at high speed in the fog. After a few minutes of driving, the road started to clear again, so I became calmer. I couldn't stop thinking about what I had just seen. That's when I looked in the rearview mirror and saw a horrible vision. That corpse girl was behind my seat. So I screamed a lot, and she put her cold hand on my shoulder. That's when I got desperate and ended up losing control of the steering and overturning the truck. A terrible accident. When I woke up, I was in a hospital bed, completely injured, as the accident was serious. I had to spend a few days in the hospital, recovering my health. That was when I was discharged from the hospital. Before leaving the room, I decided to take a look at the window of the building to see the sunlight when looking at the street. I couldn't believe my eyes. The same man who had given me arrived at night was sitting in a square in front of the hospital looking at me. I was very scared and decided to go there. But when I left the building, you were no longer there. I felt a horrible chill and he never appeared to me again. So, to this day I prefer to only drive during the day. This was a very true fact that happened to me on the roads.